Very good evening to everyone.
Namaste, madam.
Namaste, madam. Welcome
Namaste.
all. Welcome all to this edition of AYUR Talks. This is the program which is organized by World Ayurveda Foundation. World Ayurveda Foundation is the organization which has been conducting World Ayurveda Congresses since 2002. World Ayurveda Congresses, as most of you know, is the largest platform for Ayurveda across the globe, where Ayurvedic fraternity, including scientists, clinicians, and researchers, come together and network and exchange their ideas. And until now, since 2002, 8 chapters of this program has happened. The 9th one was scheduled to happen on 2020, but owing to the coronavirus problems and other issues, it has been postponed to 2021. And I should also tell you a little bit about World Ayurveda Foundation. World Ayurveda Foundation is established by Vijnana Bharati, and World Ayurveda Foundation has been behind the propagation of the correct form and model of Ayurveda across the globe since its inception in 2001. And and World Ayurveda Foundation has several programs related to Ayurveda. It has one of the programs called AYUR Guru, which is a video-based educational program based on the curriculum of Ayurveda, which is used by like several thousands of Ayurvedic students on a daily basis for learning and getting more information on Ayurvedic education. World Ayurveda Foundation is also the largest supporter of Journal of Ayurveda Integrative Medicine. As you might know, Journal of Ayurveda Integrative Medicine is the most important journal as far as Ayurveda and integrative medicine is concerned, and it's a very important journal in the entire traditional medicine area and integrative medicine area. So the World Ayurveda Congress has been from the very beginning of JAIM, supporting JAIM to reach better, reach better output and provide better output of science related to Ayurveda. World Ayurveda Foundation has been conducting Arogyas, which is supporting the industry since 2004, 2002, and it also has a clinicians platform called Sattva, where clinicians can use it for doing online consultations with patients. And World Ayurveda Foundation also has a repository of videos of major talks and major programs of Ayurveda, which has been collected from across the globe, and it is available free for viewing by all of you. If you want to, you can go to the website and look for it. So that is regarding World Ayurveda Foundation. I would also like to talk about a little bit about Vijnana Bharati. Vijnana Bharati is the largest organization of scientists in the world. In fact, there are by the registered number of scientists in this organization, it happens to be the largest member. It happens to have the largest membership of scientists and people who are oriented to science as its members, and it has multitude of programs across the country. World Ayurveda Foundation being one of that. National Ayurveda Youth Students and Youth Association (NASYA) is another one of our supporter. NASYA is the student movement which has started in 2008 and is spread across the country in all states of the country, and also has branches outside the country. And as I told you about Journal of Ayurveda Integrative Medicine, who is also supporting this program. And I would like to thank you all for being in this program on behalf of all 4 of us. In fact, I would also like to thank our major sponsor who has sponsored this entire series, Sri Dhoot Papeshwar Limited, who has always supported World Ayurveda Foundation and its programs. And I would wholeheartedly thank Sri Dhoot Papeshwar Limited's management for supporting us in this program. I welcome you all to AYUR Talks. AYUR Talks really look at wants to look at, or is proposes to look at the why of things. We want to know why things happen and why it does not happen. As you all know, the question why leads us to some of the most important discoveries in our life. It helps us gain clarity, guides us to correct ourselves, understand and overcome conflicts, and be more wise and aware. We invite you to a journey that shall provide you valuable insights to the why of things that influence our life and profession, and why of the decisions taken. Welcome to our talks. I hand over to Pavanji.
Thank you, Geeta ji. Namaste, Nandini madam. As we all know that Nandini is the legendary Kamadhenu, solution of so many of our aspirations. Welcome, Nandini ma'am, to this AYUR talks. I would like to introduce you to our larger audience. Dr. Nandini graduated from Trivandrum Medical College and did post-graduation there for diploma in clinical pathology and masters in bioethics from the University of Toronto, Canada, as a Fogarty Fellow, International Stream. She was involved in medical research in the gastroenterology department at Trivandrum and at Madras Medical College, Chennai. She was also in charge of the liver clinic at General Hospital, Chennai. She retired as the Deputy Director General, Senior Grade from the Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, New Delhi, where she was the Program Officer for Bioethics, Traditional Medicine Research, and also for some time for Pharmacology and Summer Studentship for medical undergraduates. She was closely involved with activities related to the drug development in traditional systems of medicine and other similar programs in the country concerning herbal or herbo-mineral formulations. She has been deeply involved in formulations of different ethical guidelines for the nation, including research on ASU, that is Ayurveda, Siddha and Unani formulations, stem cell, draft guidelines on biobanking, mental health, dataset protection, and disaster-related research. She has been closely involved in finalization of the ICMR ethical guidelines of 2000, 2006, of which she was the in charge, and that of 2019, 2017. She was also involved in the preparation of the draft guidelines on biobanking and stem cell research and therapy, mental health research, dataset protection, and disaster-related research. She was also closely involved in the preparation of bill on ethical guidelines involving human participants in 2002-2007. She is national and international surveyor for SIDCER, that is Strategic Initiative for Development of Capacity in Ethical Review, WHO initiated international agency for recognition of ethics committees. She is a pioneer in the area of bioethics education in India, having started the first online one-year diploma program in bioethics under ICMR IGNOU joint initiative through NIH funding. Her expertise now is in the area of bioethics on one hand and traditional medicine research on the other. She is consultant, reviewer, and has publications in these areas. She is actively involved in government and pharma industry initiatives in promoting awareness about protection of human participants and recent Indian regulations related to clinical trials. She was member of international panel of President Obama's Commission for the Study of Ethical Issues, besides other important national and international bodies. She was Dr. T.M.A. Pai Endowment Chair for Bioethics at Manipal Academy of Higher Education, Karnataka. And most importantly, she is at present the chairman of DSMB, that is Data and Safety Management Board for COVID on Ayush formulation. Welcome, ma'am, to AYUR Talks. I hope interesting session on data safety management, Ayush research, and overall ICMR activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pavanji, for this wonderful introduction of Madam. Ma'am, we'll straight away get into the questions. So, you have been associated with traditional medicine research in ICMR for a long period of time. Uh, ICMR, why did ICMR turn towards traditional medicine research? What was its interest? And we would like to have a short history from you. And what were the major outcomes which you think had happened? And what is the learning that we can take away? And how, so that we can further think about future plans by ICMR or similar organizations.
At the outset, I must actually thank the organizers for inviting me to give this talk. And I'm actually replacing a great personality, the teacher, the health minister of Kerala. I'm a very small person replacing her. But I suppose I may be able to help you, help in answering your queries, whatever you are going to ask me. If you take ICMR's history, it starts from the very inception. In 1911, the British had this agency called IRFA, that is Indian Research Funding Association. And it was actually at that time that it had funded research of R.N. Chopra, who is supposed to be the father of Indian pharmacology. And Dr. Chopra was very much interested in plant drugs. So naturally, the tendency towards that was there. But later in 1964 to 1970, there was a composite drug research scheme, which was initiated in ICMR, where Dr. Satyavati, G.B. Satyavati, who later became the DG ICMR, was also part of it. And here they actually had 9 circuits with 4 units. And the integrative approach that we are talking of was existent even at that time, because they involved not only the modern medicine or conventional medicine or orthodox medicine, whichever term you want to give, to biomedicine. They had experts from this area, as well as they had experts from the traditional systems of medicine. They had botanists, they had phytochemists. So this integration was already there at that time. So they actually had a plant-based research going on at that time. So in 70, when later the research councils came into being, then this work was handed over to them. But it continued its work in the plant drugs at a low key. Then came the WHO project, where the AVP Coimbatore was involved in rheumatology. Here, I just wanted to highlight the fact that those days statistics was not the way it is being done today. It has progressed like any other science. It has progressed to a great extent today. So, with whatever statistics tools were available at that time, a very renowned statisticians of India, Dr. Statistician of India, Dr. Radhakrishna, Dr. S. Radhakrishna, who was working in the we used to call TRC, the Tuberculosis Research Center, which has been named now National Institute of Research in Tuberculosis. The famous, DOT program that has come up now, it was actually, the basis was laid by TRC at that time, and he was involved in all those clinical trials. So his knowledge was quite a lot in this area. So with whatever was the existent knowledge, he analyzed that project and found that the Ayurvedic formulations had the same anti-inflammatory effect, analgesic effect as the allopathic drugs. But about the remittance, there was a doubt. But then later, the same AVP has proved that it is much more than that. That is because we have had improvement in methodologies, improvement in analysis, and all those things. Then after that, this was a plant-based drug scheme which had happened earlier. So what happened was Dr. Ramalinga Swami, who was a DG ICMR, went to China, and he came back, and this was told to me by Dr. Satyavati herself. And that was the time when China had rediscovered the drug for, I don't know how to pronounce that drug's name, but it was from Artemisia plant, anti-malaria. So he came and asked Dr. Satyavati that why can't we revive this program in a big way? So that's how the disease-oriented program started. So initially, 8 areas were selected. There's anal fistula, diabetes, bronchial asthma, viral hepatitis, urolithiasis, filariasis, kala azar, and wound healing. Before that, there was a pilot project on snake bites. The Kala Azar wound healing did not, materialize finally. So, but the 6 areas that were selected, it had some success stories and some not that successful because we could not proceed further with that. So the success story is about the role of Sharasutra, the medicated thread, which was used for anal fistula. It clearly showed that although the recovery rate was low, it was a cost-effective way and much better, and the recurrence was low compared to the surgical procedure. So the surgical procedure actually had the person, bedridden for some time. But here with Shah Sutra, they were ambulatory. That was a big advantage actually. So people did not feel very bad about having that sort of treatment. So that was one of the success stories. Finally, dossier was prepared and all that, the standardization, everything was done for that Shara Sutra. That was the modern element, modern science coming into play to actually standardize the thread. Then there was also, interestingly, there was also a program called Ancient Insights and Modern Discoveries called AIMD project. There was a lot of interest in having collaboration with sister agencies like DST, DBT, CSIR on one hand, and the traditional, the Indian systems of medicine on the other hand, and the research councils. But it did not materialize. It was supposed to have been collaborative with the WHO, UNICEF, etc. The other thing is about the ICMR study. The success story is about Vijaysa, anti-diabetic drug. Unfortunately, it did not do well on the commercial aspect because people were more interested in patented formulations. A traditional formulation was not very palatable from the commercial point of view. So that was another lesson we learned. Then we had this problem with the formulation. We had in between. We had I must also talk about the advanced centers that were established at initially at Punjab, later at Jammu for the standardization quality control of the formulations that ICMR was using for its studies. And there was a center for pharmacology in CDRI Lucknow. Later there was we also had advanced center in yoga. Then also we had a center in reverse pharmacology with Dr. Vaidya. So it was found out that the formulation which was being used for filariasis had a cardiotoxic ingredient. So the study was stopped, and then they found out that cardiotoxic glycoside could be removed from that formulation. So this is again addition of modern science knowledge for the betterment of the preparation of the formulation. But it did not go ahead because there were not enough funds to proceed further. We had some success story, of course, in filariasis, etc. But as I told you, the funds crunch actually did not take it forward. So these were and then we had the Golden Triangle Partnership Scheme where CCRAS was supposed to fix the formulations for particular disease, decide on that. And then the CSIR was supposed to actually develop it for quality control and standardization. And ICMR was to do the clinical trials. We actually made 5 protocols also, in which we had a novel approach this time. We made the CRF for Ayurvedic parameters and another CRF for the modern medicine parameters. And we had the related experts sitting together to make these CRFs. Unfortunately, that also did not fructify because people who were involved were all retired or they took voluntary retirement. After that, nobody actually took up the scheme. But it was a good scheme which actually would have shown that in what way we can actually, the sciences can meet together. What could be the common ground? Because at the end of it, the outcomes were to be measured and to be compared. That would have given us a very good, knowledge, and the validating the claims would have been much, much better that way because it would have been scientifically evaluated. So the present day, uh, of course, ICMR is not doing much, but it also established Institute for Traditional Medicine. There they have been doing quite a lot of things, but not to the extent. Once the Ministry of Ayush was constituted, then I think that there's not much activity in ICMR except for that particular institution. So that is, in short, the history of traditional medicine research in ICMR. Of course, there are ad hoc schemes which are coming for, approvals and things like that. But
I
not
think
a
it is,
program.
yeah. I think it was a really good, very brief history of ICMR's venturing into traditional medicine, or rather, it was a mainstay at some point of time, or one of the main things which ICMR was doing at certain point in time. That's what I understand from 1964 onwards, and even much before that. So I think we hopefully will have ICMR working closely together with the Ministry of Ayush again, so that all these things which had been left behind in between will be revived, and things will start, and things will be better. Pavanji, can you
Yes,
please?
yes. Ma'am, it was a comprehensive overview of historical perspective. It was good to hear from you. Uh, Coming back quickly to the present times, Ayush set up a task force for the COVID mitigation from a Ayush point of view. And then proposals were invited, and we understand that there were thousands and thousands of proposals. Not less than 5,000 proposals have come like a deluge. And then this data and safety management board was set up. And very deservedly, you are the chairperson of that board. So I would like to ask you two pertinent questions, ma'am. One, what is this DSMB all about? What does it entail? What does it mean to the proposer who have submitted the proposals? And what about those actual proposals? 5,000 proposals, everybody is waiting with bated breath. What is happening to them? So, any insight into that? What is happening at that level? What do you do, and what this board does?
Okay, okay. This is probably the last activity of, the recent activity of ICMR in this, because some of those proposals were, vetted by ICMR. It was the technical advisory for those proposals. Now, when you're talking of 5,000 proposals, is just not possible to, sift what is good among them in a short time. And COVID research being an urgent, you have to take urgent measures in COVID research. So I really don't know how you're going to handle that. Now, the DSMB actually is a concept to show that very often, it's actually very difficult because data has to be managed and be presented in a proper scientific manner for the world to accept. For promotion of Ayurvedic formulations, you don't require all these things to project in the world. But because it has its own value, you don't have to say that, see, these formulations are good and all those things, because we already know some of these formulations work wonders. But then when you want to actually spread the knowledge across the globe, which is actually searching for alternatives, then you may have to actually confirm to the requirements that the so-called biomedicine requires for acceptance. And from that point of view, we need to have a proper research methodology. We need to know how to present our proposals in an acceptable manner. And DSMB is actually a data safety monitoring board which looks at this data. And from this data, it doesn't say it is good or bad or anything like that. It only sees the data to see that whether the project can proceed. Now, everybody is looking out for, quick solutions. So you already have examples of that coming through in the public media, popular media. But the point is, again, the point of acceptance comes in there. So if it is written well, conducted well, and the data is examined well, then the results will be acceptable with the what you call more. People may think that this is a more acceptable data. Integrity of data is good. So then it can have the wide public application, not only in India but also abroad. So DSMB's role is that, and how it is constituted is actually you need to have a biostatistician. Biostatistician is the most important member of the DSMB. How it differs from ethics committee is very little. But the difference is presence of a biostatistician. Biostatistician can be there in ethics committee also. But here he is a must, a mandatory member of the committee. Then you can have the clinical trial experts. Clinical trial experts means not, you can't say clinicians because not many clinicians may be actually conducting trials. So they may not have the experience of what to look for in particular clinical trial, what is not gelling. So you need to have a clinical trial expert in the committee. You need to have the subject experts. So here, because it's for the first time constituted for AYUSH, you need to have AYUSH experts in that. And in the present committee, we also have a pharmacovigilance expert there, which is good in the sense that whatever the ADR reports come through, of course, we always say that modern medicine has plenty of side effects and things like that and all that. But we can also see side effects in the use of the formulations, but there are different applications and explanations. For example, a particular formulation may have a side effect which may be due to the season in which the formulation has been given, or it may be because the person is not suitable for that. And now we know there are different types of people which is actually being assessed by Prakriti, etc. But when you are giving as mass, a formulation is being applied to the mass, then you may not probably go through the Prakriti and all those fine things which differentiate a person from another person in its application. So you may find these reactions, but one needs to know what these are. And that actually can be severe or it can be very mild. So we want to pick up what that is. And this is the first time that we are going to do that. So we also will be learning whether this is a feasible thing or not. But the Western world will be very satisfied if such a scrutiny has been done. We have this publication from China, etc., on the use of plants and all that. But we also hear, bickerings on the side saying that I don't know how they would have done it. So that sort of thing should not come. In the trials that are being done in India, they should be authentic. The proposals that we have received, actually DSMB is for each project, there's a single DSMB. So that means we have received 26 proposals. So it's a big job for the DSMB. And in an institution, sometimes they have a single DSMB only for those projects which are of high risk. So, but here the question is not that. We have prophylactic studies, we have mild to moderate patients suffering from mild to moderate, affection of COVID, and all sorts of population we have in this. But of course, not the high risk, that is the hospitalized patients. Now, how do we actually measure, which is okay? And then sample sizes, some are 40,000, some are 40. So how do we go about it? It's a big challenge for us. Initially, I was of the opinion that we can do away with the smaller ones. But then the members thought, okay, let us see what we can get through. So, so we are at it. We are still struggling because the methodology that has been written, there is some idea, but not a great idea because of lack of experience, probably because primary objectives are many. And when primary objectives are many, it's very difficult to actually analyze the safety and efficacy endpoints. Secondary variables are many, but you can actually combine them. Primary ones are the most important ones. So we are actually going to ask all the PIs to actually reduce that. So, so that the most salient one that they want to see, we'll see that. That will give us a better idea than going into tens and thousands of variables, endpoints. I mean, so these are the beginnings, the experience of DSMB now, and making a DSMB charter which will be actually um, compliant to Ayush is what we are struggling with. We have succeeded to some extent thanks to the members who have been in the industry, and also very what you call hardworking people in the group. We have come to some semblance of a good charter, but now there's US FDA guidance for DSMB, which is only for COVID. So that means again we have to go through that and try to pick up some things which can be applied to Ayush. I think this will be the first challenge that we will be facing, and that I want to make it a model sort of thing for Ayush. In fact, there are people who are interested now to come and give a full-fledged training. Our people, our Ayush people, researchers are not that exposed to what GCP is. GCP, they have heard about it, but they don't know what is the role of monitor, auditor, inspector, and things like that. Inspections for Ayush is part of Drugs and Cosmetics Act, but it is not the way these people have thought about it. So when you say that, do you have a monitor? Then they say, yeah, we have been monitoring, and the higher authorities are monitoring. That is not the monitoring that we are talking of. Monitoring, anyway, the PI has to do. The monitoring we are talking of is a third party, and that concept hasn't come because they have not been exposed to their role. So, a full-fledged GCP training is a must for all the researchers who are actually going to initiate the trial. In the beginning, you have to have a however much they would have heard earlier also, you have to have a fresh training in human protection and GCP that will sort out many things, and also about a short post by statisticians about the primary objectives and secondary objectives, etc., which will actually smoothen out these, wrinkles, and somehow, make it more presentable. And also, informed consent is, I must say, it's a very sad affair there. I didn't find a single informed consent which was there are details and details in some, but in some, there is a declaration that our formulations have no side effects. Then why are you doing the study? So when you're telling the patient that, it is plain inducement. So one has to realize all those things. For that, they need to have a training in these three aspects. Then I think most of the problems will be solved. And then I think probably DSMB can work more smoothly.
Points well taken, ma'am. I hope I have also made the notes. 3 points take home message: that GCP training, statisticians at the very beginning, and specifically primary objective and secondary objectives, and then informed consent should be the things to look for. Geeta ji, next aspects of the question.
Thank you. Madam, so again, coming back to ICMR and medical research in India, since we are going to be on the 75th year, nearing the 75th year of our independence, we don't hear much about the huge inventions and discoveries which are happening out of medical research in India. How do you think medical research in India can be more effective and outcome based? What is lacking here? You have seen the inside out of this huge mechanism that happens in India within the academia, within the research centers, within organizations which are meant to be doing research. What needs improvement?
I think that this should be a question for policymakers. Because these improvements actually have to happen at that top level. And I must also acknowledge that after the constitution of setting up of the Ministry of AYUR, a lot has been done for AYUR. But at grassroots level, one needs to concentrate more. A lot has been achieved in projecting AYUR abroad, and people have actually accepted that, recognized its importance, recognized its values, and you have centers also abroad now. But what about the people at the lower level? If they are trained well, they will rise to that position where they will bring quality. That is most important. And also in research also, I think it's all a case of funding and the motivation, exact motivation. Generally, unfortunately, we Indians actually have this habit of, I don't know whether I should say in this about the Indian crabs story. So that exists a lot. We should break through that chain and just think of the national, importance about this. So research we encourage with proper funding, and opportunities given to people to actually see what is happening abroad. Even in when Dr. Ganguly was DG ICMR, he had given a lot of opportunities for people to go abroad, get trained, and things like that. That sort of training will be required. Once you are exposed to such training, you will understand automatically what is lacking in our training. So you will actually improve such thing, especially with the help of the policymakers.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. I understand that it is quality of people who are working here or involved in research, funding that is available, motivation of people who are involved in research, and having the national pride to bring things out for the country. I understand. Yes. Yeah. Pawanji, next question, please.
Ma'am, continuing from the same, the research and then the licensing part and all those steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so many steps have to be taken. So there is this paradigm shift when the licenses were given, or say marketing people have jumped into fray, and there is huge controversy going on. You are aware of that. But what sort of trials were there for this remdesivir or favipiravir? They got the licenses and probably they were repurposed. So I would like to get from you, what is the meaning of this repurposing? Cannot the AYUR drugs be repurposed?
Yes.
Why? What what is this all controversy about, the
Okay.
licensing and the marketing?
It's a good question. The point is actually, you see, repurposing in biomedicine or modern medicine. When you talk about repurposing, is a particular drug has been tried for a particular disease, and you have gone through all phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, got the license, and then phase 4 or post marketing surveillance period, whatever ADRs happened and all that. So for 4 years after marketing, the drug is still considered a new drug for the biomedicine part of science. So there actually, suppose drug X has been approved for some cardiac condition. Now you want to try it. You can take HCQ for example. It was for malaria. Now you are actually going to use it for another condition for which license was not granted. But this is now in research mode. So this is what is called repurposing. You have to do research again to show that it is effective or not. And you know all the controversy about HCQ now. HCQ has been declared by WHO for not being useful in severe cases, but for prophylaxis you can use it. Now the same thing, if you actually want to translate it for AYUR formulations, AYUR formulations is very, very clearly stated that if they are made according to what is described in the classical texts, which are included in the first schedule of Drugs and Cosmetics Act, along with the pharmacopoeial formulations, which have been also added to that group. If you make it accordingly for traditional indication, you can do human trials. It's very clear. But if you are going to mix it up, then it becomes a proprietary drug. Ideally speaking, proprietary drug may behave better, or it may not behave better at all. So when you are using that, you may call it repurposing. So repurposing is nothing but for what it has been indicated, you are going away from that and trying to use it for some other indication. Then it is called repurposing. And when you repurpose a drug, you have to go through the research mode.
Okay, man. Thanks for clearing that out. So, Geeta ji.
Because I know personally that you have been involved with this, that's why this question to you. What is integrative medicine according to you? Why is it important? And from a research perspective, do you have an example to elicit in India? And a little bit more about it. Can you explain?
Yeah, I was actually giving you the history of ICMR forays into integrative medicine. So that concept was already there. And of course, before coming to other examples, I would also like to say that COVID actually has created a global reaction where all agencies are coming together as the joint strength is supposed to be acting to actually stem this spread of the disease. So you find different agencies coming together, like 2 or 3 proposals that were subjected to that were presented to DSMB have undergone various organizations review. The regulators were the CDSCO was there, ICMR was there, and it's a CSIR Ayush project. So you see they're coming together. But before that, I would like to give a good example. Integration has been happening in small. We are not aware of many things. But the 2 success stories that I can say is one, that rheumatology trial, which AVP had with NIH or US collaborators, and it was an integrative approach. The second example that I can give is about treatment of filariasis in a very integrative manner. See, we give emphasis to patient-centric treatment. Whichever is good for the patient, you apply that. Patient may also have preferences. So that's why now we have these research methodologies where we say we give a choice, whatever the patient prefers, that person will be included in that group. So this is called partial randomization. So this is again another point that I wanted to highlight in the proposals that had come to us for the DSMB with the wrong technologies, like wrong terminologies, like non-randomized. How do you say a non-randomized? Another thing is the control group is called active control group. What do they mean by that? So they have not understood the concept of active control. So these are certain things there. But here I'm going back to my narration about the filariasis treatment. In Kasargod, of course, Dr. Narahari's project is there where he has been using Ayurvedic formulation, I mean, the modern medicine, skincare, Ayurvedic formulation, yoga, and the massages, along with crepe bandage and all that. Also has steaming according to the Ayurvedic procedures. And at the end of it, in 1 month, their huge leg becomes, they come in stretchers and then they walk away actually. So in 1 month, you can see the difference. So this is one instance where, integrative approach will be very good. And he understands the language of Ayurveda, like what diet has to be given according to the person's personality classification, based on that classification. So similar approach, if biomedicine also takes up, it may be very difficult actually, a lot of opposition, but at least the least that can be done. One advantage the Ayurveda physicians, the Indian system of medicine students have is that they learn subjects from modern medicine. So they are actually exposed, they know some parts of that. But you ask a modern medicine student anything about Ayurveda, Unani, they have no knowledge at all. So there was actually a proposition that at least 3 months exposure should be given. I understand that the present medical curriculum probably may subject to that. I am not very sure about that. So there has to be some sort of exposure so that antagonism is no longer there, acceptance is more. And there could be some brilliant students in both sciences who may come up with the integrative approach, which may be good for the patient.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. In fact, I understand that COVID-19 had brought about a lot of possibilities of integration across the globe for traditional medicine and modern medicine. And as you said, the work which has been done on rheumatology, along with NIH funding by AVP, as well as the work which has been extensively published by Dr. Narahari from Kasargod. These are the two examples which you have, which you have been saying, which we should be trying to understand more. Yes,
And
thank you so much.
I also would like to mention Dr. M.S. Valyatan's efforts
Yeah.
in this integrative medicine. He also has done a lot on that, trying to understand the role of the herbal mineral preparations, which came into a lot of media exposure by the Americans, mainly about toxicity and all that. So the concept of nanoparticles and all, the science creeping in to explain the mechanism of action. Uh, I would actually like to mention here about research methodology. Like so many things have evolved now. We talk about adaptive trials much more than we used to talk about it. Earlier, we had this single blind, double blind, parallel, and all those things. But then adaptive trials made its way. And now we hear about three other things. We hear about umbrella trials, we hear about platform trials. And in for COVID, they have used this platform trial in the sense that there'll be one control group and there may be 3 or 4 other test groups, all being tested against this control group. So you don't have to have many people in the control group like that for each one to test. you have test drug A, then you have the control group. Test drug B, you have a control group. Instead of having a separate control group, you have a single control group and 3 or 4 other arms with different test formulations. Like in one, you can use only ashwagandha. In another, you can use what they call vilai, tulsi, and all those things. In another, you can have another combination. You can do that in a single center. That may give you a good idea. Say where you have lots of patients, there you can do that.
Wonderful, wonderful thing, ma'am. Yeah. Pavanji, can you go to the
Yes,
next
yes.
question?
Nice, ma'am. It was good to. I wanted not to interrupt you. Continue hearing through more about what do you mean by this umbrella trial. We understood what is platform trial,
Okay.
but if you can, I will take you on that, ma'am. This is my
Okay.
question. What is this
Umbrella
umbrella trial? But
you can actually
okay.
You can actually use it for one single patient for relief of one maybe single symptom like pain. So you will use one formulation. Then you can use another formulation. Same patient. Then you can use third formulation. And this is more important for studies at the molecular level. What happens?
Okay. Got it.
These are new concepts which have come up.
Very good.
There's another trial where actually the same drug can be used for multiple diseases. That is what you people are also doing. That is what HCQ also was doing.
Yes. Ma'am, coming back to this HCQ again, not just HCQ, but the solidarity trial. In fact, it is still going on in many countries, multicentric trial, a very huge trial by WHO. Remdesivir is part of that trial. It is one of the trial drugs. The trial is not yet over. Then how come this drug has been approved for marketing? Was it not a leap of faith, which we label most of the AYUR drugs as it is a faith-based thing? So was this leap not a leap of faith? What is your take on that, ma'am?
Actually, the thing is, you see, I don't know the details, but I can guess that DSMB actually can say, for example, in the solidarity trial, it is DSMB which decided that HCQ is not doing its job.
Okay.
So then it has been dropped. Okay. From the same solidarity trial only, this has been dropped. So there were 22 centers in India which were to do on using HCQ, which has been stopped by ICMR. Now in UK, they were using the other two, Topinavir and the other one, I'm not immediately getting the name. So there also recent information has been released, but they have yet to actually finish the trial number, or DSMB, when it reaches a certain level, when it is a clear indication that it has an advantage, then you don't have to actually proceed further. Whenever there is a negative reaction or a positive reaction, which is very, very clear from data analysis, you stop there. DSMB asks that needs to be stopped. And based on their advice only, people actually stop the trial, or for the good or for bad.
Wonderful, ma'am. It was a wonderful session, learning experience. Geeta ji, we are running out of time, so probably one or two questions.
I think we can. We have few more questions, but I think we will have to, because we are already reached about almost an hour. So, which was 40 minutes, which we planned for. So I think, Pavanji, why don't we go ahead with the vote of thanks to ma'am, please.
So just wrapping it up, I was thinking of one or two questions. I don't want to let go, ma'am. So with a promise that you will come again. It was a wonderful learning experience, ma'am. Very good. It was sort of a mini condensed lecture on research methodology, current research methodology, the evolving research methodology. Thanks a lot for your precious time. I thank the World Ayurveda Foundation for giving this opportunity, creating this forum of AYUR Talks. I thank Geetaji for his wonderful insight and incisive questions. Thank Chandrasekharan ji, sponsors Dhutpapeshwar ji, patrons, mentors of Vigyan Bharati, our friends Nasya, people Chaganji, Preeti Chabra ma'am, our JIM friends Girish Tillu, and all the journal team. Thank you very much, and all the participants and friends who are viewing this. Your support is very necessary. It is for you, your learning, that we have set up this AYUR Talks with these huge luminaries who have given their precious time. Thank you very much, ma'am, with the hope that you will again come. And
thank you very much for the invitation once again. And also, I thank the audience. Of course, I can't see them anyway, but I thank them also, and also the organizers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.